And he just keeps pulling rabbits out of his hat, this guy. Growth, earnings, unemployment at its lowest in 50 years, African-American unemployment at its lowest in history, okay? And what do we have? We have Joe Biden, Barack Obama's sidekick, as the leading candidate on the left.
Well, so we know Joe Biden's position on immigration. I do hope we can go back to this a little bit later, because I have some other solutions on the border issue that I'd love to run by you. But speaking of the border, Joe Biden's position on the border seems to have evolved a bit over the years, hasn't it?
Frankie, just because I take off on Friday to go play golf, that doesn't mean I'm not working day and night all weekend. And I saw this clip, and it's clear as day. This is the guy who's the leading candidate to be the next president, or at least oppose Donald Trump. He's not winning in 2020, but this is what he said in 2006 about border fences, border walls.
I voted unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it. I voted for 700-mile fence. But let me tell you, we can build a fence 40 stories high, unless it changes the dynamic in Mexico. Why I believe the fence is needed is not related to immigration as much as the drugs. I'm the guy that wrote the National Crime Bill. I'm the guy that wrote the National Drug Act. I'm the guy that wrote the law that set up a drug czar. People are driving across that border with tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
Not only is it Money Monday, it's let's ring the bell. It's 2-for-1 sale, folks. That's Joe Biden in 2000.
I want to vote for that guy. Who's that guy?
I love that guy.
That's my kind of guy.
Joe
Ooh.
Biden in 2006 said, right there, you heard him, I voted for 700 miles of border fence. Folks, that's what I did.
He also pointed out...
Some of you Democrats are not going to like me saying that, but Uncle Joe here, I voted for 700 miles of fence.
Also the drug issue.
Now he's against walls, just so one flip-flop.
Yeah.
Next.
You know, the other big thing, and Joe Biden's a guy that claims to be the most progressive candidate in the race, but on the issue of criminal justice reform and prison reform, if you compare the Biden record to Donald Trump's record, Trump actually seems a bit more progressive. Joe Biden, of course, wrote the Biden crime bill, and I think we have some video of the former vice president talking about it.
We have that? We do have that, Rose?
You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
And by the way, we talk about this mostly in terms of Black Lives Matter. Black lives really do matter. But the problem is institutional racism in America. When community policing was working, neighborhoods were not only safer, but they were more harmonious. By and large, what it really did, it restored American cities.
There it is.
Now, which is the flip, which is the flop?
No, I don't care. What people need to know, if you're thinking about voting for Joe Biden, this is how this guy operates. In 2006, he was jumping up and down, patting himself on the back for building walls and incarcerating African Americans. I'm the guy who wrote the bill. Me. I created the drug czar. And Frank, you know this. Many people, millions. The rate of incarceration grew 100% from the 1994 crime bill till the end of Bill Clinton's term.
Well, and this is something that both President Clinton and Vice President Biden were always incredibly proud of. They attribute this crime bill to the massive reduction in crime that we saw in the 1990s. I do wonder, though, now, politically, I agree with Trump on the First Step Act, and I think that's a positive thing. We want to let out these nonviolent drug offenders, not lock them up for decades for small crimes.
That's
but
right.
A lot of the law and order conservatives that ended up voting for Trump, they're going to look at that crime bill and say, wait a minute, that's something that could be appealing to me.
Yeah. To me, I look at it as, this is your leading contender, and on Liquid Lunch, we're going to keep giving it to you straight up, okay? Sometimes it's on the rocks, sometimes it's neat, sometimes a little dirty, but it's always straight up. That's the news. In 2006, he was for fences and walls, and he was the king of the drug pins. He created the drug czar, and now he's amended his thoughts on his crime bill, and he's against walls. So that's what you get with Joe Biden.